The room was warm with the quiet hum of conversation. Gunnar, freshly returned from the training room, sat in a large armchair, still adjusting to the weight of his new arm. Across from him, Derren leaned back casually, as if the surreal nature of their world was just another day at the office. Clara stood by the window, her arms crossed, ever watchful. Desera was at Gunnar's side, her new leg moving with fluid grace now that she had fully adapted to it. Eli, Jewel, Karina, and Ashley gathered around, the atmosphere comfortable but still filled with the tension of their many unanswered questions. They had all been through hell together, but now they were trying to find a new path forward. Derren broke the silence first, his usual sarcasm punctuating the air. So, what do you guys call yourselves now? I mean, what's the official title for this little operation you've got going? The others exchanged glances, unsure how to answer. Well, Clara began, we were part of the agency. The agency? Derren interrupted, his face contorted in disbelief. That's it? No fancy acronym? No secret badass name for what you guys did? Just the agency? Clara raised an eyebrow but stayed silent. Derren shook his head with an exaggerated sigh. That's pretty lame, to be honest. I mean, come on. I was expecting something with a bit more, I don't know, flair. You guys fight demons, monsters, and apparently dragons now, and all you had was the agency. Gunnar cracked a smile for the first time in what felt like days, and the rest of the group couldn't help but laugh a little. Even Clara's lips quirked up slightly, despite herself. Derren sat forward, his eyes bright with a new idea. How about this? You guys are all, what, remnants of that agency? Shadows of what it once was? But you're still fighting, still out there doing the work, right? Clara nodded. We haven't stopped. Exactly, Derren said, snapping his fingers. So, how about calling yourselves Echo Division? Like, echoes of what the agency once was. Shadows and echoes. I mean, an echo is basically a sound shadow, right? Everyone fell silent for a moment, processing the suggestion. It was simple, but it fit. The agency might have fallen, but they were still here, still carrying the weight of that legacy. Gunnar leaned back, his eyes thoughtful. Echo Division, he repeated, testing the name on his tongue. It's not bad, Ashley admitted, a small grin on her face. Better than the agency, that's for sure. Eli chuckled, nodding in agreement. It's fitting. We're not the same, but we're still here. Clara crossed her arms, staring at Derren. You might be onto something. Derren gave her a wink. Well, I do try. Gunnar, his expression now serious but approving, gave a single nod. Echo Division it is, then. The group seemed to straighten a bit, as if the new name breathed fresh life into their purpose. Echo Division. It wasn't about living in the shadow of the past. It was about creating something new from the echoes of what once was. Derren leaned back again, clearly satisfied with himself. All right, now that we've got that settled, how about we talk about what's next? We've got dragons, demon eggs, and apparently a whole lot of messed up realms to deal with. Gunnar's gaze grew sharper, and the room quieted again as they all turned toward him. He was the alpha, the one they looked to for guidance, even in his current state of recovery. Gunnar's voice was quiet but firm. We've dealt with a lot of threats, but something tells me the worst is still ahead of us. The Black Dawn may be regrouping, but there's something bigger out there. We need to be ready. Clara nodded in agreement, stepping forward. We'll keep training, stay sharp. There's no telling what might come next, but we'll be ready. The group began discussing their next steps, tracking Black Dawn's movements, reinforcing their base, and preparing for whatever might come their way. But for now, they had a new identity. Echo Division. A group born from the remnants of a fallen agency, still fighting, still standing, still determined to protect the world from the darkness lurking in the shadows. As they planned, Derren leaned over to Eli, grinning. By the way, Keebler, Echo Division? Totally my idea. You're welcome. Eli shook her head, chuckling. Yeah, you've got one good idea. Don't let it go to your head. Too late, Derren replied, his grin widening. And with that, Echo Division began its next chapter, ready to face whatever came next. Together. The morning light filtered through the windows of the workshop as Echo Division gathered around the jet, doing some routine maintenance and gearing up for the day's missions. Gunnar, still adjusting to his new arm, sat on a nearby crate with Derren, who was casually tinkering with his freshly engraved shotgun. So, Derren said, glancing at the wolves who were lounging nearby, I've been thinking, why the hell do the wolves have to run everywhere when we've got this fancy jet? I mean, don't get me wrong, they're badasses and all, but come on. We're in the 21st century. Why not toss in a side-by-side ATV or something? We've got space, right? Clara, standing a few feet away, raised an eyebrow. The wolves are more than capable, Derren. They don't need a ride. Derren smirked, crossing his arms. I'm not saying they need it, just saying it'd be a hell of a lot easier. Plus, could you imagine a wolf driving one of those things? I'd pay to see that. Omega let out a huff, and Alpha shot Derren a withering glare, clearly unimpressed by the suggestion. Gunnar, sitting quietly, gave a half smile, but his attention quickly returned to tinkering with the gear on his prosthetic arm. Eli, overhearing the conversation from across the room, shot a glance toward Jewel, who stood next to her. You know, we could have a little fun with that, she whispered. Payback for the Keebler nickname. Jewel grinned mischievously. I like the way you think. Eli motioned to Ashley, who was standing by one of the workstations, her arms crossed. She leaned in and whispered her plan, a smile creeping across Ashley's face. What do you need? Ashley asked, already intrigued by the potential for mischief. I just need you to distract Derren for a bit, Eli replied. We'll take care of the rest. Ashley nodded, walking over to Derren with a sly grin. Hey, Derren. I need your help with something in the command suite. You've got a minute? Derren, ever eager to show off his tech knowledge, jumped up. Lead the way, Ash. Anything for you. As they disappeared into the jet, Eli, Jewel, and Ashley got to work. Clara glanced over with mild curiosity, but the pack had seen enough of Eli's schemes to trust that whatever was going on, it was likely harmless, and likely hilarious. 30 minutes later, Derren strolled out of the jet none the wiser. He stretched, adjusting his jacket. All right, I fixed the targeting system. Should be good to go. Eli appeared, grinning. Hey, Derren, we've been thinking about that ATV idea of yours. Figured we could surprise you. Derren's eyebrows shot up. Surprise me? Yeah, come on, Eli said, motioning for him to follow her toward the back of the jet. You said you wanted something modern and practical for the wolves, right? Well, ta-da! They turned the corner to reveal an ATV. Sort of. It was a side-by-side, all right, but Eli had rigged it with what appeared to be giant fuzzy wolf ears on top and an exaggerated tail on the back. The thing looked ridiculous, like something straight out of a cartoon. Derren stared, his mouth opening and closing, trying to form words. The entire pack gathered around, unable to contain their laughter. Even the wolves seemed to be watching with something like amusement in their eyes. You've got to be kidding me, Derren muttered, rubbing his forehead. Nope, Eli grinned, crossing her arms. You wanted an ATV for the wolves, right? So we gave it the proper wolf treatment. We even added some padding for Alpha and Omega to ride shotgun. Practical, right? Ashley nudged Derren. Come on, Derren, I thought you'd love it. We even named it the Wolfmobile. Derren groaned, shaking his head but unable to stop the grin that spread across his face. All right, you got me. I deserve that for the Keebler thing. But seriously, I'm not riding around in that thing. Clara chuckled, stepping forward. Maybe next time, Derren, think twice before calling one of us a nickname, especially Eli. Derren shot her a mock glare but couldn't help but laugh. Fair point. I'll take my chances next time. Eli stepped up, still grinning. Good. Now, back to business. How's that shotgun holding up? Derren hefted the shotgun onto his shoulder. Oh, it's perfect. I'm still getting used to the runes you put on it, but man, this thing packs a punch. You've outdone yourself. Gunnar, who had been watching quietly, stood up from his seat, his new arm adjusting with a subtle whir. He walked toward Derren and Eli. All right, enough joking around. Derren, you're coming to the range with us. I need to test this arm, and we'll give that shotgun a workout while we're at it. Derren smirked, glad to see Gunnar taking the reins. I'm in. The group headed to the range, leaving the ridiculous ATV behind. But the laughter from the prank lingered, breaking the tension that had hung over Echo Division since the last mission. As they walked, Eli hung back for a moment, grinning to herself. Derren might have gotten the nickname Keebler to stick, but she had won this round. And it wasn't over yet. The sky above the training grounds was a perfect blue, almost too perfect for the kind of training the Echo Division was about to engage in. But here on Earth, even in the serene surroundings, danger was always lurking in the shadows. The pack was preparing for a full combat drill, and there was nothing serene about that. The day had come to put the team's skills to the test. They had been sharpening their abilities, adapting to new technology, and recovering from old wounds. And now they would take everything they had learned and throw it all into one explosive session. Derren, still a fresh presence among them, leaned against one of the benches, his sarcastic grin plastered across his face. You know Keebler, Derren said, holding Eli's custom-made 12-gauge shotgun, his fingers tracing the engraved runes. I love it when you bring me toys like this. Let's see if it blows up more than just the target. Eli smirked, crossing her arms. Try not to blow yourself up, Derren. That shotgun has a little more kick than what you're used to. Derren laughed. Kick? Please, I'm practically a pro. He pumped the shotgun, giving it a test, and the low hum of power from the engraved runes vibrated in his hand. As the rest of the team prepared, Clara walked down the line, checking on everyone's gear. The wolves, Alpha, Omega, and Bravo, paced in their own calm, controlled manner, their golden eyes observing the humans, waiting for the command to engage. Clara was ready, her silver pack dagger and staff of light in hand. She had been honing her skills ever since their return from Alfheim, preparing for moments like this. Her piercing gaze moved over the group, finally landing on Gunnar, who stood with Starbreaker resting against his side. The weapon looked like an extension of him, deadly, quiet, and powerful. Today would be Gunnar's first combat test with the new arm. He hadn't fully adjusted to its weight or its power, but it was time. Desera, having gone through a similar process with her leg, stood to the side, her eyes focused and determined, ready to provide support if needed. All right, Echo Division, Clara called out, her voice sharp as she paced down the line. We're not playing games today. We've got real threats out there, and it's time to remind ourselves what we're capable of. We're running the full drill. No holds barred. Derren let out a low whistle, looking around at the team. Echo Division, huh? You guys actually settled on a name. Clara gave him a sideways glance. You came up with it. Thought you'd be more proud. Derren shrugged with a grin. Yeah, well, it's starting to grow on me. Let's see if it sticks. Let's see if you stick, Gunnar muttered, barely loud enough for Derren to hear. Derren straightened up, giving Gunnar a mock glare. Watch it, brother. You might be the alpha, but I've got this shiny new toy in my hands. He held up the shotgun and waved it teasingly. The others chuckled as they finished preparing. Clara stepped to the front, lifting her staff of light and tapped the ground with it. Wolves in position. Pack ready. Derren, try to keep up. The signal was given, and everything went from calm to chaos in seconds. Clara moved like a storm, her silver dagger slicing through targets with deadly accuracy. The staff of light emitted bursts of radiant energy, demolishing any targets in her path. Her wolves, Alpha and Omega, moved alongside her, their ferocious energy channeling into every strike. Derren watched in awe for a brief moment, then leveled the shotgun at a row of targets downrange. All right, let's see what you got, he muttered, squeezing the trigger. Boom! The shotgun roared, the rune-engraved shells exploding with concussive force. The first row of targets disintegrated, leaving nothing but ash and smoke behind. Holy hell! Derren exclaimed, grinning like a madman. I need to thank you later, Keebler. Eli, from her vantage point, couldn't help but laugh. Careful, Derren. It's not a toy. Gunnar was busy with Starbreaker, taking out his own targets with precise shots. The rifle hummed with power, glowing as it fired round after round. But this time, he wasn't just relying on the rifle. With a flick of his wrist, the hidden blade in his prosthetic arm shot out, and he sliced through an approaching target before retracting the blade with a satisfying click. Desiree, moving in the background with her sniper rifle, provided support for those who strayed from their targets. She was swift and unrelenting, her prosthetic leg giving her the balance and strength to move effortlessly through the terrain. "Looking good, Desiree," Ashley called out, hurling a set of knives into her own targets, each one hitting its mark dead center. "Thanks," Desiree replied with a smirk, reloading her rifle. Meanwhile, Derren pumped his shotgun again, adjusting his stance. "Seriously, I'm in love with this thing," he shouted as he aimed at a moving target and fired, sending it flying back into the air. "Keep talking," Gunnar shot back, lining up another shot with Starbreaker. "We'll see how you feel when we up the difficulty." The training was intense, with each member of the team showcasing their unique strengths. The pack moved like a well-oiled machine, each strike, each shot, perfectly in sync. Alpha, Omega, and Bravo tore through their own targets with wild ferocity, their golden eyes gleaming in the afternoon sun. As the drill came to an end, the group gathered back at the center of the range, their energy still high, their focus sharp. "Well, that was fun," Derren said, resting the shotgun on his shoulder as he approached the others. "I didn't think you guys actually knew how to blow things up properly. You're all right." Eli chuckled. "We do more than blow things up, Derren." Yeah. He waved her off, then turned to Gunnar. "How's the arm holding up?" Gunnar flexed his prosthetic arm, the hidden blade sliding back into place. "It'll take some getting used to, but it's solid. I'm ready for whatever's next." Clara stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "You've done well, Gunnar, but don't get too comfortable. There's always more to learn." Gunnar nodded, but the weight of the day wasn't lost on him. The drill had gone well, but his mind was still restless. He had come far, but there were still demons, both literal and internal, that needed to be faced. For now, though, they had succeeded. The pack was strong, united, and ready for whatever came next.
Well, you found your way to the end, haven't you? That must mean you're curious, and we love curiosity around here. Before you vanish into the ether, take a moment to subscribe. It's just a click, and trust me, you'll want to stay in the loop for what comes next. And while you're at it, give the video a like. The energy exchange is good for you. Hit that notification bell too. You wouldn't want to miss out on any of our magical misadventures. Who knows what I might conjure up next? Alright, off you go. But remember, I'll know if you didn't subscribe. See you on the other side.